Good Shabbos. This week there's a double portion, Nitzavim Vayelech. And at the end of Parshas Nitzavim, there's a very important principle that really is almost the most important principle, according to Maimonides, in Judaism and in the Torah. And that's Bechira, free choice. The Torah tells us, See, I've placed before you today life and goodness and death and wickedness. And the Torah goes on to say, you shall choose life. And Maimonides says, how could the Torah say we're rewarding you for something that you did right and we're punishing you for some kind of sin if it's all fated? Obviously, there's free choice. He doesn't count this as one of his principles of faith because it's the whole starting point. There's no purpose of life or the Torah or the mitzvahs if everything is fated. Just our own gut tells us, if everything is fated, why bother making a decision to get up in the morning? I might as well just say, I'm not going to get up in the morning. I won't bother working. I won't bother doing anything which falls under the responsibilities that one has in life, because if I don't do it, it was fated anyway. So we all are faced with this every day, and our gut tells us that we have free choice. But of course, science has somewhat challenged this, because once we understand how things work on a micro level, we see everything with cause and effect. And then modern psychology also has somewhat undermined it, because we could say that we are all affected by, and it's obvious also, we're affected by how we're raised, by our parents, by those things which happen to us in our childhood. Also on a medical level, DNA decides how we react. So how do we deal with the fact that we know that some people have a propensity towards selfishness, narcissism, or the opposite? Some people have a propensity towards being kind and generous, and therefore, how could you say therefore someone is responsible and will be punished or rewarded for either of those actions? So there's many different ways this is addressed. I'll just mention one which is proposed by Rav Elia Dessler. Rabbi Dessler, who passed away, I believe, in the 50s, he says life is like a battlefront. There's a war going on. And during your life, you're trying to move forward and conquer more territory. And the forces of evil, or the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is fighting against us the other way. Or it could be that our environment, our culture, our parents, our society is pushing us in one way or another. But at every point, we feel that we now have, at this, where we are right now is the decision we have to do. Should we move forward or should we give up and go backwards? That which we've already conquered, he says, like a battlefield. Behind the lines, that's already conquered. That's not a challenge to us anymore. We know that in life, many of the things that we do by rote, whether it's acts of kindness or selfishness. Either way, a lot of them just come naturally and instinctively. We don't feel like we're really making decisions. It just comes to us because we've been doing that all our lives, or we've been trained to do that all our lives. She says that's the territory that's already conquered, and the part which we have not yet reached our aspirations, that's on the other side. That's beyond enemy lines. The only point that we are responsible for is what he calls the Nekudas HaBechira, the point of free choice, the point where the battle is taking place. So today, the fact that I might be davening or making a bracha or keeping Shabbos, that might not be a challenge to me or to someone else because that's the way they were raised. So it's no big deal. But their challenge might be speaking Lashon Hara, or maybe doing something a little more than you would have normally done. To go lifnim b'shur, beyond the letter of law, or something which we've been trained to be selfish, or to perhaps cheating someone. Like that's the way we were raised, or in our business, that's the way we've been acting all this time, and it becomes second nature. And therefore, that's not the point that we're battling. But there's always one point where we're making a choice. There's always that specific, the battle line. You think of any war, you dig in, you dig your trenches, you have all the support, you have the supply lines, and now you're trying to just inch forward, or the enemy is trying to inch forward against you. And that's where we have our choice. So therefore, I think Rabbi Dessler's understanding And I think he's reacting to Freudian psychology, that of course the influences that we have in our past have made a tremendous impact on us. But that doesn't mean we can't change, and we could change little by little. And that's our challenge. We're coming to Rosh Hashanah next week. We have to realize that don't think you could change yourself completely 100% turn around. Some people do. It is possible. It's sort of like that breakthrough of the guy who's running for a touchdown from the 10-yard line, or all of a sudden the enemy just dissipates in front of you and you're able to conquer all this territory. But normally everything moves very slowly. And we have to understand that we cannot expect to conquer all this territory at once, but we have to fight inch by inch, day by day. And if we look at it that way, we say, okay, how can we move forward today and tomorrow and the next day? And we could judge ourselves only by the challenges we have at that day. And that's how we should judge ourselves. We should always sort of at night, we should take into account what we did that day, how we reacted. Did we react appropriately to people who challenged us? Did we go the extra mile to do an act of chesed, an act of kindness? And this is what we're judged for. That's what I think Rabbi Dess is saying. And it actually makes a lot of sense. And our gut tells us that we do have choices. We do have the decision to make. Should we get up in the morning? Should we be kind to the person we pass in the street? Should we react angrily to someone who insults us? These are the things that we all face on a day-to-day basis. And I think we have to take that challenge and move forward. And hopefully, if we do that, when it comes to the Yom Hadin, the day of judgment, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and we're looking for forgiveness, God will be, as the Gemara tells us, Mata Klape Chesed. He'll lean towards kindness, and he'll give us the benefit of the doubt. Have a very good Shabbos.